It's so weird. So the only thing, and I promise, and forgive me, I started second guessing myself because as I add things to the agenda, I thought, oh my gosh, did we already talk about this last month? I don't think that we did these couple of, and I'll forward the emails to you guys. That way, if you do have them, it's really just a couple of different webinar groups that different firms have told me about over time. And again, I swear, I think I've already talked about this, but, so this connectionology, this is something that Bart Durham's office told me about. Did I talk about this maybe last time? Okay. So this was, I put in my notes to remember, this is not something that really fires me up, but they are really excited as a paralegal group of different webinars that this group has been hosting. So I'll forward the emails to you, but again, they were nothing that, it wasn't anything, but maybe some of your team members or something might enjoy some of these. And of course I did, I saw the word staff. I was like, somebody call them and tell them to change their words. But anyway, so I'll forward that one. And then the one I did already send you guys up for this upcoming week, just in case anybody wanted to sign up for, Ralph Curtis sent this over to me, and they attend lots of the different webinars. So this one is actually a paid webinar for this week that starts tomorrow. It was like $50 and it's like a 3-day. I did not buy a ticket yet, but I may go ahead and do that just to see. You have to pay like an extra $37 if you want the recordings. So for marketing purposes, I did forward this stuff, hoping that maybe Maurice and his digital team might poke around at how they're selling this to people in the masses, and not only selling a ticket, but then you have to pay just a little bit more to get the recordings. So I may do that just to be able to watch some of the sessions. But they do, I have watched some of the free ones that this SMB team does host, so they're not all paid ones. So it may be something just to look around at. And like I said, Curtis Legal Group, they take full advantage, and they do send me lots of different webinars that are free. They always like to take advantage of any of the free resources that are out there. So I just want to, and I'll email those to you guys that we have them. But I just thought, I guess I just envisioned this as a time for us to talk through those things and not just get a random email about sharing this kind of stuff. But I'll follow up with both of those websites. That way you guys at least have them. And then that was the only two things I had to share. I know Caroline, who is training with Nicole right now, she did want to take a little bit of time just to show us some of the task bundles that they've built out within BackDocket. I've used one of them. I didn't open it up for this newest client, but I did open up a task bundle for McWhirter that I'm going to in August. And I think Terry's played around with it a little bit too. It's not perfect. And I think that's what Caroline's wanting to show us, to try to maybe get a little bit of feedback or some thought as we all try to use it, to where it is set up to where it's, assigned to the correct person, or already is lined out a little bit more in line with the dates that we want, but we can adjust and edit them just like we could on any checklist.
Yes. Can y'all hear me? My internet is being a little funky on my laptop. So if I get stuck, y'all just like wave at me or something.
Okay.
But Amanda, can you allow me? Oh, you did allow me to share. Just kidding. One sec. So Amanda is right. I wanted to show y'all two things actually today. One is not task bundles. One is documents. Now that we have our client files in the correct place, you guys are able to link their main folder in here, so that if you're working in McWhirter, you can click on this link right here and it should take you to their folder with all of their main folders. That is what y'all can do now. And I'll show you the steps to do it. It's very, very simple. You'll go into documents, you'll do add a document, and I will have this out in the BackDocket procedures when I update them. When I looked at the calendar, I told Amanda, I thought this call was next week. So I kind of wasn't prepared today for you guys, but you'll go and you'll press URL. And when you're in 365, so I'm going to hop back to 365, you can go to McWhirter, like you're in it. You just copy that link right there. Copy it, bring it over to back docket, and you would paste it right there. I'm not going to paste it because she already has it and it won't allow me to. And then what I've been titling it is just client file. And the type that it is the client folder 365, obviously, and then you just close and it's there. So you can click right into it. Let me get out of this. And it'll take you to 365. So that is one new thing that is working now that we have all the client files. Those links should not break. Even if you change files within this, as long as you don't move McWhorter out of the clients and potentials, it will work. So y'all
So
should,
even if we add more folders, not that we're supposed to because we have a foldering structure, or if we add subfolders of any way, shape, or form, or move things around, as long as we don't break the main link.
correct. As long as
Okay,
you don't
cool.
move McWhorter out of clients and potentials, you should
Okay,
be
cool.
fine. You can do add, delete, whatever you want, and it'll be
Or
there.
I would say, or rename that. If for some reason you went in and decided you wanted to put initials or something, you shouldn't do that.
You could rename it because you're not moving it.
Okay, cool.
Yep. As long as you don't move it out of clients and potentials, it works.
Okay, cool.
So when you go to save a document, yeah, just freeze up. You guys,
No.
For 1 second,
I would
but
agree.
we continue.
when you go to save a document in back docket, can you walk us through how you would do that now with that linked folder? Are we saving it in back docket, or are we still saving it in 365?
You still save it in 365. It's just an easy access for you to, if you're working in, if you're working in the client and you say, oh, I need to look at the notes that I took, you would just go to documents, click in here, and it will bring you there instead of having to have 365 open somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just a shortcut within back docket. Yeah, is what it
We're
is.
still saving all our documents in 365, but we can now get to it through back docket.
Correct. We had decided not to do save documents in back docket so that we're not double, oh, I thought it was there. Oh, it's here.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And then as far as the task bundles go, like Amanda said, you can, when you're in your client, you can go to task right here. Sorry, our faces are in the way. Move them up to the top. There we go. You'll go to task, you'll put your cursor in here and you can click, and Amanda's already deployed some of these, so that's why they show up. But what you can do is add a task bundle. And then to find the bundles that I've created, you do a % and that pulls up everything that we've created before. If it would be a long list, you can do that throughout back docket on all search items. But these are the ones that I've created. Assessment prep. So that would be, before you go on site, the communication, sending pre-visit requests. Report prep, that's going to be after you've been there and it was reminding you to follow up, to reach out. Have you sent them? Oh, sorry. That's so weird.
Caroline, if you want to, you could go to Burris because I've already put Burris in my name. And if
actually,
you wanted to add,
what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to Vista and so that I can deploy all
Okay.
of them. Y'all give me, let me do that so that you can see what they are. This is mine.
and she just took that SOP that we had worked on for like all these different SOPs we've worked on, and she just took the SOP and she's put it in task bundles. That way it's all broken down. So, hey, this is when, all these things need to happen. It's not necessary, depending on when that client comes on with us. So some clients, we may only know 3 weeks before we're going.
Right.
Some we know 3 months before we're going. So like that timeline, you may change the due dates.
Right. And I'll show you that right here. So on this one, assessment prep. So you can do launch date, like where you want to start it today. Or if like, hey, I don't need to start this client for a week, you can change that and it won't bother you until a week from now. But for now, we'll go ahead and press it. So I'm going to press add and it deploys all of these. It tells you what they are. Send assessment proposal. Once agreement is signed, follow up, yada, yada. To edit each one, this is the part where Amanda was saying, it's set up right now where I assign, if Stephanie, you were to have deployed this, it would say assigned by Stephanie to Stephanie.
Right.
Or some of them I've already set up that I know will come to me. Like Caroline needs to do the pre-visit info. So it would say Stephanie assigned to Caroline. Just because I'm in my account right now, it says my whole name.
Okay.
But y'all can edit that, each one however you want. So you just press the little edit, assignee, that's who's going to do it. And then the due date and start date. And if you need to tell me anything, or if you want to remind yourself, you can add that there and save it. And I will be notified that I've been assigned a task. You will be notified that you assigned yourself a task.
And we'll be notified by email or how will we be notified?
It's an email. It's an email. And you can change it as well, like when you want me to start it. If you know I don't need to start it for a week, you can change it and when it's due. So it's very flexible. And that's the part where we probably could get very much more systematic on how many days it needs to take to do that. And I would know which client it is because it's going to be listed right here and I can find all their information. So, oh, one second. It's right there. It's full. What you need? Sorry, guys. Miss Christina's digging in the trash. So there's that one, and then I will go ahead and show you the other ones. Add a task bundle. I'll do %sign again. Report prep. Same exact thing. It's going to send them all. See, this one has, I've already set it up to assign it to my dad. Read the report draft. So it's like, so he's got an email actually right now because I didn't change the date, right? So because I deployed these, he just received an email that says, hey, Caroline, I need you to read this report draft. So that's it. That's pretty much, it's as simple as that. It's very editable. Like Amanda said, I use the procedures that we already have. So if you guys are doing this, I've asked Terry and I've asked Amanda because they're both starting with 2 new assessments to kind of go through the process and see if this is helpful. What are we missing? What do we need to add? So I think this will be built out much more than it is right now. Go ahead, Steph.
Do you get an email for every task or for every bundle?
Every task.
Oh.
I know. I need to work on the preferences of emails. I don't even know how to set up.
But doesn't it give you a daily like reminder and everything is grouped together in the email?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So like if you've got things that are overdue, you get like one daily email that says, these are like, all I can't remember because I read them and I delete them. I don't, because I use the tasking stuff so much. So I've gotten accustomed to it. But yeah, so it may all come to you at one time. But I don't even think that I did though, Caroline. I don't think I got like individual emails, unless you
only would get an individual email if you have multiple tasks due on different days, if that makes sense. Like if like Stephanie, for this one that I think they're all due on the 4th, you would get one email that says all those things that are, it's not one.
Okay.
A new email.
That's not as bad as I thought. Okay.
and like everything is grouped together. So if you've got multiple things that are due on that day with different clients, it's one, like, it's just one daily overview that's saying everything that is
You can
due.
get more than 2 emails from Backdocket in one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Caroline, I want to ask you the little kind of grayed out piece of paper with the is that supposed to be to where you click on that and you can read the contents without having to open it and edit the item?
Question. I've actually never seen that. I got an email from Backdocket this morning about some updates, and I'm thinking maybe that's one of them. You can't click on it. So
I feel like there's somewhere I've been able to get it to work before. I don't think it was the notes. Maybe it's over on the notes, but you should be. I think it's supposed to work like that, which would be marvelous, because right now the only way that you can see the rest, you can see the notes in the description, is to open it.
Yeah, I'll find out about that.
I think if you, it's supposed to be meant to where if you hover over it,
would
because I've seen it work somewhere in there before, but that would be wonderful if that did work, so you don't actually have to read the description without opening it.
Mm-hmm.
And then to mark something complete, just to make sure everybody does know, all you have to do is just click over there on the side. So if there are things that pop up when you open that task, you're like, oh, I've already done this and this and this, you don't have to open that actual item. You can just click it and it marks it as complete.
And then if you're concerned, like, uh-oh, did I really do that? You can press this show completed task and it will show you the ones that you've done. So you can go back and undo it if you needed to.
Can you drag that task column to show more words? Yeah.
I can set it up to where this is larger. Is that what you're asking
Yeah,
for, Steph? For
Yeah.
it to, the description to be bigger?
yes.
Okay, I can do, I have to set that up in like the design of it, make the column larger.
It may not be necessary, but I'm thinking that.
No, I think that's a good idea. I think that would help with, especially if you can't hover over it and get the information that you need.
Right.
I can make that bigger for sure. So for now, I have those 3 set up, and I think we'll need more. I actually discovered a SOP this morning that we need, especially working with Nicole and Heather. We need a document that's like, welcome to Vista. Let's set up all your emails and your teams and your this and fill out this paperwork and that, because
That's called onboarding and offboarding.
we need that.
Caroline, I have a new hire checklist that we use for our clients. If you'd like, I can send you that, or it's probably in 365, and it might trigger some reminders for you that are maybe not apples to apples, but close.
That would be helpful, Stephanie, because I made a list this morning and my dad responded back right away with 2 different things that I had forgotten: business cards and like headshots.
I'll send you that.
So that would be helpful. I'm going to work on that for you guys, trying to get us a little bit more procedural around here.
I know when I talked to Heather and she was like, well, what about this? And what about that? I was like, well, you don't have a credit card yet. So your Caroline and I are doing, like all this back and forth of, or what about hotel accommodations? And anyway, so good luck with all that.
The good thing about Heather is that she's not starting right away. So we have some time to get it together, but we got to do better.
No, you're going to be having the baby soon. Like there is no time.
Exactly. And I'm finding out too, in some of the Mackey Business Group stuff, we also need procedures. So Nicole and I are working on those today.
Thank goodness, Nicole. Thank goodness Nicole is there.
Nicole is here. She's listening. So, all right, guys, that's all I have to share for back docket. I will get those procedures to y'all in writing. I have them. I just have not. Like I said, I thought I had another week, and then I opened the calendar yesterday and went, uh-oh. So
we stopped sharing for just a second.
Yeah.
So have there been any updates to the emailing procedures within back docket as far as it, or collapsing notes, anything like that? Okay.
I did not. I scanned the email they sent me this morning, and I know that wasn't on there. So
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just keep wishing.
Yep. Just keep hoping for that part.
Anybody else have anything that they brought to the table today they want to discuss for knowledge share time?
I have a question that I wanted to ask the consultants about what you've seen with other clients in terms of how they do case rotation. If there's like rules that they have in place in terms of when the cases come in, which attorneys get assigned to those cases. And to give you just a little bit of background that may help shape your answer, I'm asking for Buckfire because they're starting to put together, they want to create a case rotation that's a lot more transparent for their attorneys, because right now the owner tends to give all of the good cases to one particular attorney that he really likes and feels does a good job on those cases. And some of the other attorneys, particularly those ones that are well tenured and have been there for a long time and do have a good history of getting results, are frustrated because they feel like they're seeing this happen. And so they're asking for more transparency in how cases get assigned. And the COO that you guys met at the conference, James, he is concerned that he's going to go through this whole process of putting together a very transparent case rotation, and Larry is still going to start funneling cases on the side to this attorney that he tends to like. So curious if anybody has experienced something like that and how other clients have gone about assigning case rotations in a fair manner.
I can tell you what I would recommend, not that I've seen clients do it, but I would start out with a basic table of all the attorney names and then, round robin, right? For those cases that are not A ranked.
Mm-hmm.
So for maybe your B's and C's that any attorney can get, do a round robin even rotation. For maybe A's or A pluses, you might only have 2 attorneys on that rotation, or only those who qualify to handle those cases. And then you can do even distribution among them. But again, sorry about my phone. It depends on the size of the firm too. How many lawyers are we talking about? But I think that if you really want to be transparent and you keep in mind the Dudley DeBosier rule of attorney tiers. Not
Mhm.
every attorney is qualified to handle A cases, and that's just the way it is. They have to meet a certain criteria before they graduate to that level. And if you kind of approach it from that standpoint and then have that higher ranking case and higher ranking attorney rotation, you could have your basic one and then the high ranking one and be very transparent. And
Okay, thank you.
maybe meet Larry's needs as well.
Yeah, and I have shared with them the Dudley DeBosier case attorney tier system, so they are aware of that system. I do not know if they've yet deployed that. I don't think they have, and we have a call next week to discuss this whole case ranking thing. So I'll ask them about that.
The only thing I've seen firms do is do a round robin equal and then deviate from it off the record, which doesn't really help anybody because
Yeah.
they're not following it. So
Yeah.
I would recommend the high level one and then the regular one, and you can be 100% transparent.
Mhm.
So my first question is, why in the world is Larry involved in case assignment? Number one. And there are most cases, unless it is catastrophic, we don't know what that ranking is of that case when they're first signed up. So we have to assign it to someone. Do you have any type of report for a case assignment for like a date period to
Yes.
show them? Okay. So they at least know how many new cases and things like that are coming in any specific time. I wrote down the Dudley DeBosier procedure. So getting something actually in writing that says that, you have to have worked here X amount of years, or you've had to have seen this many trials before you're assigned A+ cases or what have you. But maybe getting Larry, assuming that he likes to have, that objective data to show, hey, that in the last 90 days, this person's been assigned this many A+ cases and blah, 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 to kind of show that for him. But yeah, exactly what Stephanie said. I mean, it has to be kind of on the basic run of the mill cases that typically everybody gets a little bit of that, unless he really does have some true litigation attorneys that are only getting assigned those very high value cases.
Well, that's what his structure is set up, so that they have a pre-lit department, and then the pre-lit department only handles it until the case is filed, and then it gets assigned to a litigation attorney. And there's about 5 litigation attorneys, 2 of whom are well tenured, and I would say would be fine to get the A or A+ cases, but only one of them who right now is really getting those, because Larry does get those assignments. Once it moves into lit, Larry is the one who makes the decision on who gets those cases. And I suspect, though I can recommend, he will not relinquish that power. That's something that he enjoys doing, and I don't think that he would feel there's anybody else at the firm appropriate for making that assignment judgment. So that would be a very big uphill battle to get him to get rid of that.
And I'm assuming it's a eat what you kill kind of setup. So that's why they're upset that they're not getting the higher value cases, whatever. All you can do is, in my opinion, just give them some objective data of, say, this is how many cases have been reassigned to each of these people. This is how many have fallen into their bucket, showing them fees and things like that. And just continue to try to work off of objective information of, maybe just show him that, this other person that is second in line, look how well they are doing. They're working their cases and they're closing them out a little bit faster. Their average fees higher because of that, or whatever that looks like. But, or maybe this other person really does deserve all these other cases because they are that good.
No, I think that's all good stuff for us to talk out next week, because I think that's the kind of information James in particular. I think Larry's happy with the way the system is right now, but James is frustrated by it. Yeah.
And maybe just to kind of fall back on, as long as Larry is always doing what's best for the client, because it is in their best interest to be with the best lawyer. And if whatever that scenario is, whether it's a motorcycle or workers' comp involvement or something like that, maybe he for whatever reason thinks. But then I would say next step is, if they're not doing a lot of training, well, why can't this all powerful attorney start transferring some of those skills and be the subject matter expert and start teaching some of these lawyers, and maybe they're already.
And I would want to know, why is Larry more comfortable with one of those lawyers than the other? And what does that lawyer or all the others, what do they need to do to get to the level, and maybe line that out so that they have some goals to work toward, so that this can eventually become a non-issue.
Yeah, agree.
I have a question on a different topic. Are we ready to move to a different topic, or was there?
Yeah, go ahead.
That was very helpful. Thank you.
I have a couple of clients now that I got one NEOS, I got Thank God I have a needles one still, but I've got a Neos. I'm going to be working with another Smart Advocate, and I've got Law Roller. And I'm kind of stuck with reporting because I can't build dashboards for Neos yet. I can't build dashboards for Law Roller yet. And I'm trying to make the most out of the built-in reporting in these systems like I can do with Smart Advocate. Smart Advocate has about 90 to 95% of the Vista reporting already built in. So when I pull their KPIs and I do a monthly management report, I can get all that from Smart Advocate dashboards and reports, non-issue, no problem. But for Law Ruler, I've got a whole cluster going on there because the way this client moves cases through the system is it goes through a workflow and there's no date footprints for when it goes from one stage to the next. So that's a nightmare in itself. It's like changing class codes, but with no date stamp, right? So how am I even going to do reporting with that? So I'm working on that. But with FileVine too, I'm just wondering, what are you guys doing if you have clients that are using other systems? What are you doing? Are you working within the built-in reporting in those systems, and are you able to get the data that we ordinarily are used to getting?
I'll go first. By the grace of God, all of mine are needles or have just recently moved from needles or ATO or Pro Law or something where we've got a dashboard. Ryan's built a dashboard. So those are the ones I'm doing.
Or just recently moved from needles to what?
Hi, Caroline. Bart Durham just moved from needles to FileVine, and so hopefully we'll be able to give them some reports. Castro didn't stay on long enough. We were building reports out for them to start some type of shell of a management report for them. But that's kind of where I've been leaning with all of them.
Who's building these? Ryan?
Is building what in FileVine?
Building reports in FileVine.
Well, I built some of them in the beginning, and then Ryan went in and helped me build out because I had to build out a monthly report. Like you couldn't, they had to have a January, a February, a March, because you can change the dates, but then you lose the information from the first report. I built lots of them out for them in the beginning, and then Ryan came in and helped me build some of them out, but they're still just list reports. They're not, anything fancy.
It doesn't have Periscope, Domo.
No, this particular firm doesn't. Now Bart Durham's office is going to, and I don't have a login. Pam tried to share her login with me, and I never got that login. But their data it's not good enough to give them any care reports on right now. They're kind of flying blind, trying to figure out their way through all that. Now Grossman is about to, I hope, sign on as of Thursday, and they are a FileVine, have already been in FileVine for a few years, so maybe there'll be some reports, but you can't, once you build a report, that list report, you can't export it into Excel. So very, very longhand, you could eventually end up with graphs or be able to make pivot tables and things like that once you dump it into an Excel report. But again, it's just very longhand of doing that to be able to get them case listings. But with there being no consistency within FileVine, with you being able to name anything, save it anywhere, there's no party tab, case tab, or whatever. There's not it's going to be painful. We can't just say, hey, Ryan, we want this report. Well, it's going to have to be very specific, exactly where those things are pulled from to even help us get some list reports built out.
Sorry. Steph, the only client that I have that's not Smart Advocate or Needles, well, I have one Litify, but I wouldn't count them. And I've got a Case Peer that just came on, but they're a really small firm. They're like 4 people, and they're just implementing Case Peer right now. So they did not do a conversion or anything. So they're putting everything in from scratch. And they used to do no case management system. So even the basic reports in Case Peer are like amazing to them because they had nothing. But I can see us getting to a point, now we're looking at their basic Case Peer reports, but Case Peer has some limitations in terms of what we like to see and how they do it. And you can't do manipulations of their reports right now. So what I've been doing, and some of this is just in preparation for when we get to that point, because they're happy with what they have right now. But they do have an export to Excel feature for all of their reports. And so that is helpful, at least in getting the data into Excel and having it in columns and being able to, do some additional movement with it that you can't do within CasePeer. But I would say, that client is currently very unsophisticated. And so they're not coming in with the expectation that I'm assuming some of your clients right now are coming in with, where they're expecting some high level reporting right off the bat.
I mean, I've got one, Hanson and Rosasco's now, like, when am I going to see some reports? And my answer is, well, because of the way you guys use Law Ruler, I can't get you much. I can build you reports in Law Ruler based on how you use it, but it's not going to look anything like what we built.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's okay with them, but I'm really at the baby stage where I feel like I've been working with this client long enough now. I should be further along. And
How long have you been with them?
6 months maybe.
That's awesome. Yeah. I, as a rule of thumb, and it may be right or wrong since we don't have a procedure for this, but as Terry came on and Mary Ellen came on, that was kind of my rule of thumb. I didn't even start, even for people we built dashboards out for, it was a good 6 to 9 months before I ever even thought about it. It was kind of that, dripping out that crack cocaine to them that we had to get established, and then we would get a management report, and then we would get automated reports.
That's what's making me nervous. I feel like I got to deliver something. But I think with Hanson and Rosasco, they have no reporting now that they use. So anything they get.
That's right.
And I guess I'm just not comfortable with that. And I feel better talking to you guys because I didn't know if you were further along, if you were facing the same challenge I'm facing, and if you found a way to overcome it, because we don't talk about that in our weekly meetings. And I'm happy to know that we're all kind of in that same.
Yeah. And I would say too, I mean, that it took me a long time to figure that out too, that I didn't have to provide them with a 20-page management report from the very beginning. Even when I start them, I start very, like, you might get a 6 to 8 page management report. And then I start adding on more bells and whistles and things like that as it grows. But just to, even if you, maybe even with the lack of reporting they have, that'll be good for you to start with, to say, okay, hey, here is this is Q2 reporting, and this is what you're missing. And this is, this is what we need to figure out to try to show them, based off of the data, this is what you don't have. Yeah.
Exactly. Hey, you just reminded me of something. Bird, because I've been working with them like 12 years now. They have 1 million dashboard reports, right? But I don't show them in every monthly management report, but sometimes I change it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go months without showing them a certain report. And then one month I'll say, oh, I haven't looked at that in a while. Let me show them that one. And they really like that. That kind of shows them, it gives them a sampling of everything that they have that they're not looking at on their own unless I present it.
Mm-hmm.
But changing it up every month kind of gives them something to look forward to, and it's not the same stuff every month. You know what I mean? So if you're not doing that, that might be a good way to keep things interesting.
Yeah, I try to do that too, as much as I can, or because sometimes it is like beating a dead horse. You're saying the same thing over and over again of, are you going to look at this? Are you going to look at this? And then trying to put a new arrow here or a new circle here or whatever to try to help them to, pay attention.
Exactly. Okay, well, thank you.
Ryan, you got anything? I asked him yesterday, I have a call with Bart Durham's office this afternoon, and he's kept Bonnie in the loop. Bart Durham's office did allow us to do whatever they needed for the API in, and I don't know. Anyway, so he said there wasn't any new updates, but that Bonnie at Bart Durham's office was being kind of kept in the loop on that.
Yeah, I'm meeting with the API guys today, hopefully, to try and get it connected again. We're still not connected to FileVine. We've been working with them, but it can't get connected right now.
Are you working with Neos on that?
No, we're focusing on FileVine right now.
So Neos, I've been building reports in Neos. I'm happy to say that the user-defined report writing is much easier in Neos than it was in Needles, but you can't build anything from the intake tables. And they know it. And
Yeah, I was gonna say, when I was in there, I had a heck of a time trying to build reports because there was fields missing, there was all kinds of stuff.
you can't access the stuff in intake.
Yeah,
And if there was a custom report that you built in Needles before you migrated, you cannot edit that report once you've migrated. So you can't add a column, you can't change it, you're stuck with it. So, and there's no ETA for when they're going to make the intake table fields available. So I can write reports like, show me all the clients who need an MRI, or who, everybody who's having surgery or who's had surgery. I can add a user defined field and I can write a report, super easy, but nothing from the intake table. So I can't do, show me all the pending intakes, where do we want this case is blank. Isn't that stupid?
Mhm.
I can do, show me all the cases where it's blank, but that's kind of after the fact. That doesn't help with the chase report. So that's just an update on NEOS. There's good news and bad news. When you get to it, and hopefully they'll fix the intake table issue, but when you get to building user-defined reports in NEOS, super easy. And I'd be happy to do a lunch and learn on for anyone who wants to see how to do it quickly and easily when you're ready.
So that's kind of my question, because, and I think that we all maybe utilize Ryan's skills a little bit differently. I never create reports in Needles, and maybe it's just because of the necessity of Neo, since we can't get to their API. But like I was saying with the FileVine stuff, I know enough to be dangerous within FileVine. But I think Ryan, with his programming background, in my opinion, it was so much smoother. I think maybe it wasn't. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's gotten more comfortable within FileVine. That's why once I built some in Castro, I was like, hey, can you help me build out the rest of these over the next month or whatever that looks like? Because and I've told Tim this before, I was never on the Needles end. I was never someone who was building reports. I was the end user of a dashboard. So I know how to change things within Needles, but I'm not as fluent as maybe some of the rest of you are. So it doesn't come as natural to me. So I don't know if I'm utilizing Ryan, and I shouldn't be in those instances, or I should know how to pull up in any, case management, how to even list reports.
I'll tell you why I'm doing it in NEOS, Amanda. I feel bad because at the needs assessment, we talk dashboards, and my client wanted dashboards, and I can't give them Vista dashboards now in NEOS. So I'm trying to cobble.
Did we know they were in NEOS when we went? Or were they in NEOS when we went?
They had just converted.
Yeah. And that's,
I
don't even use the word, like some of the ones that we went to that are in a different case management system. Like I scrub the assessment. I take all of that information out. I don't even talk about dashboards.
I just did that with the Henninger Garrison Davis. I scrubbed anything that said dashboard because they're in FileVine, and I knew we weren't going to be able to create.
You're so smart. I'm dealing with 2 clients now that I feel bad because I can't deliver. And they were really excited about Vista dashboards, and it was right on that cusp. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I know, live and learn, right? But
yeah, and I think that and like we said, you can dump any of those things into at least a spreadsheet to build a little graph for this or that to help them feel like that they are getting at least more than just a screenshot of a list or something like that.
Yeah.
And I have a little bit of, I guess I'll call it gossip from the Needles. And when I was on my last assessment, I got a phone call from, I don't know if any of you guys ever met Scott at Needles. He was the lead programmer. He had been there since the 1980s. He was the one responsible for programming when Needles went from pins to Needles.
Wow.
And he took over sort of the head programmer role, where he was no longer doing like the nitty gritty programming, but he was overseeing the group of programmers who were doing the programming. Anyway, they unceremoniously fired him. NEOS unceremoniously fired him after more than 30 years with the company. And this is total gossip, but offered him like no severance package. It was this very like, he was there one day, he wasn't there the next day. And there was no fanfare about this person who had really been instrumental in getting this system where it is today. So he reached out to me to let me know that this had happened, to ask me some HR questions. And I was kind of picking his brain a little bit on what his experience has been in the past few years with working with Neos. And he let me know that he was cut out from Neos. They left him on kind of continuing to work on the needle side of things and the conversion side of things and, you know, all of that. But that from his perspective, the system had been rushed out the door well before it was ready. And that's why a lot of these clients are experiencing these issues with missing fields. And like you said, Stephanie, with the intake tables not going into the reports, there was just a lot of what he called like nuanced information that didn't get programmed and got packaged and sent out as a product that was ready. And he said in his estimation, it was at least a year away from being ready to be sent out to a client base. And so it's really what he would call not even a beta product that's kind of out there in the world right now. And they're using the client base right now that has switched over to Neos as kind of their testers for this to help them. And obviously with a cloud-based program, it's easier for them to push out updates. They can do that a lot quicker than with, you know, the client server-based version of Needles. But he was very uncomfortable with how not ready the program was and getting pushed out to clients. So just a little bit of industry gossip there.
That's such a shame about how he was let go.
It was really
glad you left when you did, Mary Ellen. God.
I honestly feel like, and I don't want to like pat myself on the back, but I feel like I'm so proud of sort of seeing what the writing that was on the wall and walking away from it before I had to get involved in any of this stuff, because I just would have been absolutely miserable. I mean, I was miserable, but I would have been even more miserable.
I feel like I'm working with TrialWorks.
Yeah.
When I have to reach out to Neos, it feels just like TrialWorks.
Well, that's because the head of their programming now is Rob Steinberg, who is the former president of TrialWorks. So you're getting a lot of that same philosophy. Yeah.
With TrialWorks.
Mickey and I had that same kind of conversation before, and I poked fun, or I'm glad I didn't stay. I left in July of 15, and she had a across the table conversation telling me how valuable I was and how much she wanted me to stay and blah, blah, blah. And 2 weeks later is when she left. And I said, if I would have stayed at that shithole and you left. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I think that at some point, you know, you same thing with Heather. Heather, you know, I think that she knows it's time for her to close her chapter in her book with iColt's law firm. And I think that it's coming at a very, very good time, considering all the things that, you know, we know kind of behind the scenes, but you know, there's a plan for everybody, right?
Yep. I have one more question.
God takes care of fools and what is it? Fools and drunks or whatever. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Mary Ellen.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to throw out one more question if we have time before we part.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in the past, when you guys have gone on an engagement and the engagement was priced at X, and there's been major changes over time to that engagement that you feel sort of warrant a bump in what they're paying, and how you've approached that. And I'll again give you the background. I started working with Klein, geez, almost 2 years ago, and it was supposed to be a very specific, specialized project to help them through changes in Canadian law and look at their workflow in Smart Advocate. And that got finished, but then I stayed on working with Sue, and it was really in a capacity where I was just talking with her every 2 weeks about whatever came up. It wasn't a ton of work. It wasn't a ton of, you know, my time, and they're paying a very low rate because it was this, you know, sort of short project rate. Well, now they're going through a complete restructure where David is looking to pull back from the firm, and his son is going to be moving into a more managerial role. And so I've been working a lot with them on meeting with their team and coming up with this whole management structure. And it just feels like suddenly my time is being pulled much more into this client that's at a very low rate, but I love working with them, and I don't want to jeopardize this relationship or have them second guess like, oh, well, we've been paying Vista for X amount of time and all of a sudden it's not good enough. I don't know. I'm struggling with how to approach this change in scope in a way that honors how much I enjoy working with them, but also says, hey, we've really kind of gone past this monthly amount.
Knowing David, I have a suggestion that won't offend him. I think that you need to send him something in writing with a new proposal,
Mhm.
But you're such a good writer, Mary Ellen, you won't have any trouble with this. I think the gist of it should be, we hope that you receive value from our limited scope project of blah, 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 blah. And here's what, just summarize briefly, here's what we've accomplished in that vein, right? And then now that we've moved on to restructuring, blah, 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 we look forward to working further on this and try to point out why this is a little bit more involved, and why the scope is broader, and send a new proposal. And I really think that he'll respect that and appreciate that, because odds are he hasn't even realized it. And if he has, he's not going to bring it to your attention, because I know David, he's just not. But you have every right to it, and he'll respect it. And if you do it in a nice, friendly way, that's the way to do it with him.
And I've only had to do it the other way whenever someone's paying so much, and then we start having the conversations of reducing. So with Amaro, and I have a draft, I haven't had to send it yet with Whitley. It was literally a breakdown of this is how much you pay, and this is everything that you get from that. And if you want to drop 1,000, this is what you're going to get. And if you want to go to this is what you're going to get. And Amaro didn't want to, because of course they've got the best deal of anyone. They're grandfathered in, kind of like Berg, I'm sure is, right? They get so much value for what I feel like so little money. Just to try to be transparent, but it wasn't that same thing. It was back to it couldn't just be a conversation. I had to actually, I needed to put it in writing so that they had some objective numbers. And, David tells me all the time with James, he likes to have at least 3 options. He doesn't like less or more because it's too much. So I had to get feedback from him on like how I should present it to him. But I've only had it the other way around. But it's almost like, hey, we're going to close up phase 1 or phase 2. We're, now we're moving into phase 3, and phase 3 is going to entail this is what we're working on, and that is going to be a little bit of a different price point.
David also has to process things.
Yes. Oh my God, for ages.
It has to be in writing. You can't do a phone call with him, because he'll just be silent while he's processing, or he'll say, I'll get back to you. So in writing will give him time to read it, reread it. But I would say try to distinguish between the limited scope of the early project and the much broader scope, and why and how that's more involved, and why and how that justifies more. And I think he'll see it.
And thank goodness it's a client you like to work with, rather than.
They're fans, they're Vista fans. And Sue, if he says to Sue, what do you think? Sue's going to be like, I need Mary Ellen. We have to do this.
Yeah.
I thought about Sue yesterday, and you can pass this along next time you talk to her. Adam and I were talking about trips and places he wants to go as he gets older. And we talked about Niagara Falls, and he said something about, we can go visit Canada because all people there are happy. And I was like, at 16 years old, he already knows it about Canadian people. I thought that was pretty cool. Ryan, he wants to go to Italy. So I told him, I was like, well, Ryan loves Italy. If you ever make it there, I said, you don't even have a passport yet, but if you ever make it there, then I'll put you in touch with Ryan.
Hey, you guys, there's a show we watch, and this season is taking place in Italy. Have you seen Master of None on Netflix? Master of None. The guy is Aziz Ansari. He's the comedian from The Daily Show. I think he was on The Daily Show. But it's his show. It's a comedy, and it's really cute. And so there was season 1, it was fun. Season 2 is in Italy, and it makes you want to go so bad. So just throwing that out there. Master of None.
We settled on Riviera Maya for our 10-year anniversary. So that's the next big trip that we're going on. I can't wait.
When is that?
Our anniversary is November 11th. We're going to go in December. Yeah, I would like to have went in November, but we got a hell of a lot of stuff going on in October and November. So we thought it would be best to wait till December. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate your time, and I will send the recording out to everybody if anybody needs it.
Thank you.
All right. See you guys later. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, Ryan.